saying it's having trouble. It better not be.
Well, I just got a message that says the broadcast is live. So for those of you watching
Here we
live,
go. Let's give it a second, Allan, for people to join us. It might be delayed. I'm just going to start it out here. There we go. Hello and welcome to Renee Live. I'm so excited for tonight because I have my favorite bantering partner on tonight. We have Allan Gilbreath. Welcome, Allan.
good
Allan
evening.
is Hi, Allan. I hope we don't lag tonight, but oh well. I was telling you a minute ago that my computer, the internet and everything went out like a week ago. We had a storm. And so it went down. And ever since then, I think my modem has been a little bit wonky. So I might have to get a new modem. So hopefully not, though.
Okay.
Hopefully we're going to be okay. Hopefully we're good. So Allan is, we are. We'll call on Archangel Gabriel. She'll help. But Allan is like a man of many hats. Allan, you wear many hats. You wear, you're an actor, you're a producer, you're a director, you're an author, you're an editor. I mean, you do it all. You do like construction work, building homes and fixing. I remember one time you were in Texas.
Yep.
We were on the boat and you're like, I'm on top of the roof of a nursing home.
I was.
And it was like a heat wave and
it was August.
Yeah. And you were fixing through in August. You were fixing the air conditioning for the and turkey buzzers were.
Yes, they were. They were circling.
We're looking at you. I remember that. Oh my God, it was so funny. But Allan does so much, and I've had the honor of meeting Allan in person. I went to Memphis and we filmed over at the Woodruff Fontaine Manor, and we had fun there too. We had fun there. So we did a couple of things while I was there, and it was just fun. So Allan is my favorite bantering partner. He's like one of the biggest. I talked about you being a skeptic, and I said I don't believe he's always a skeptic, and then boom, it goes off. What'd you do, Allan?
Well, somebody has to keep you people in check. That's all I gotta say. I like to.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, when somebody found out I was doing your show this afternoon, everybody's kind of like, so what do you do? What does a skeptic do? And I'm like, all right, well, first off, a skeptic's job is not to just say, no, you didn't. That's not their job. That's what they do, but that's not their job. The skeptic is designed to challenge what's being presented. Now, 99.9% of the time, that challenge is going to end poorly for anybody that's not a skeptic. Because, as I love to point out all the time, the world is weird. Weird stuff happens all the time, but it is the actual root cause, the source of how did we get this experience, what happened, what were the situations, and almost everything has a mundane explanation at the end of it. And I caveat that with almost everything.
Right. And it's true. Even though I am who I am, and psychic medium, and I investigate and stuff too, I'm always trying to debunk things because you have to try and figure out, was something else causing that? Was something,
Well, yeah, you're never going to get to the root cause or
So we
to
always,
a
we have to figure
repeatable.
out, you can't just say, "Oh my God, I just did this." You have to prove.
Right. The evidence has to stand on its own. And in many cases, when you begin digging into these things, it winds up being a lot of wishful thinking. Of people participate in events with the
Right.
anticipation of a successful event. One of my favorite examples is how many deer hunters at the beginning of the day tell you they're going to get a deer, and that's all of them. At the end of the day, two guys actually came in out of the field with a deer, and somebody accidentally hit one with their truck on the way back over to the station. Not everybody saw a deer. Not everybody got a deer. Not everybody. And we know deer exist, and we know deer everywhere. And there might be one in your backyard right now eating your vegetables. But you don't see one every single time you drive down that road. You don't see one every single time you go looking for one. So I have the somewhat easier job as a skeptic of going, are you sure you saw what you saw? Tell me how you got to this. And that is generally how it works. Of course, I think I'm still on live, and I think Renee just actually got dropped. So we'll see if she can put her psychic powers to use and regain diving back in. So, in the meantime, let's see here. What were we supposed to talk about tonight? Of I am also the producer of Dark Oak Media. So you can pop over to darkoakmedia.com and check out a lot of our shows. We have a variety of pretty good hits going on right now. Right now, one of everybody's favorite is something called, oh, here she comes, is something called People You Might Meet. And with the people you might meet, we have a lot of little caricatures of people you might stumble into at a hardware store or
I think this is
at a
going to irritate me more
Starbucks
than
or at an
anything
IKEA.
tonight.
Really
I'm here. There you are. I'm here. It booted
well,
me
we
out.
kept entertaining. We went on without you. It's okay.
Oh, beautiful. That's good. It's all right. I know you can handle it. But Alan's found things like for debunking like noises and stuff like raccoons in the attic or
Mm-hmm.
right. You've
Well,
had the raccoon and squirrels and
no, I'm waiting on
here I
your
am.
lag to catch up. You there?
Is it lagging? Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, yeah. When people go investigating, critters are your number one source of weird stuff happening. And knowing what a raccoon sounds like, or a chipmunk, or a squirrel, or a possum, or bats, um, occasionally pigeons, there's
Hmm.
all kinds of stuff that could be going on in a facility. One of the facilities that was really supposed to have all kinds of, cool, weird problems going on. A lot of the noise was being made by fish because there was
Really?
water actually under the building. And you could hear stuff splashing and hitting the bottom of the floor, and it was hilarious. When we figured that out, that was a lot of fun. That took a while to figure out though. Of
Did they know
I've
that
been
there was
in,
water under the building?
well, we knew there was water, but nobody knew the water was occupied. AKA the water wasn't filtered out or anything. This was actually water that went from the river under this embankment and back out to the river. and had all kinds of stuff in it. Living stuff, things that would splash and make noise
Yeah.
and bounce off the bottom of the floorboard. And yeah. Um, we had one case where there
Nice.
was a mysterious boots walking across the ceiling every night. And it turned out to be how the floorboards were installed in the attic so that as the house cooled, as the sun moved across it and left, and one end was still warm, one end was starting to cool, as the boards would creak, it sounded exactly like somebody walking through the attic.
Wow. Now, see, this is what makes you a step above the rest, I think, because you do have that contracting construction background, and you dig into it deeper than what most people would, even on an
Well,
investigation. So you're going to be looking for the stuff that most people would not look for.
yeah, but it's not fair to tell somebody they didn't have an experience.
Right.
They
You
most
tell me that
certainly
all the
did.
time.
Yeah, but they most certainly did. But what was that experience?
Right.
That's where it gets interesting. I've even debunked, Sasquatch sightings and, ghosts that ran lighthouses. And, the truth is very fascinating, but it doesn't have the, paranormal TV effect. It
Right.
doesn't have it doesn't have the Hollywood glamour to it.
Have you
So,
have you ever had an experience, Alan?
no, many. I even took one that took 6 weeks to figure out.
Really?
Yep.
You just had to
Yep.
debunk it?
Well, it was a great mystery, and a friend of mine passed away, and I inherited all the signed books, right? So all the signed books go to another friend's bookstore. One friend gonna help out another. A couple of days later, I get the phone call that the signed books are in the floor.
Really?
Oh yeah. So the signed books were all put back up, blah blah blah. A couple of days later, all the signed books are back in the floor again. So, all right, this is a good one. This is awesome. And if anybody was going to come back and haunt me, it would have been my friend. Really, this would have been, this would have been the perfect revenge for her for all the years of putting up with me. Um, I ended up spending the night in that bookstore like 3 nights in a row because it was on the third night that the 3 a.m. train came through and ran right behind the property. And the vibrations of that particular freight
Oh,
train were heavier because of the extra size of the cars. And because it was longer and heavier, it vibrated the building that little tiny bit extra. And all of these signed books were on this shelf on display together. And the combination of where they were, what shelf it was, and the vibration from this one particular train that only came through every 3 days. Ta-da! Now the books. I literally watched them go tibby tibby
and
tibby
they
tibby 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 across the shelf. And by the way they fell, because they walked over, they turned sideways, and when they fell off, they fell nice and pretty laying on the floor. And if you had come in the next morning, you would have sworn they looked like somebody set them there.
nice.
But that's the
Now,
extent
did
I
you
will
film
go
that
to.
happening?
Well, yeah, back then cameras were, still thousands of dollars. So we didn't have camera phones and cool stuff. Of so I did not get that filmed, but I was satisfied that, my dear friend was not going to haunt me over her books. She might still be
Nice.
trying to haunt
That's
me, but
funny.
she hasn't quite gotten there yet. So yeah, I mean, even something that extreme is really kind of how far a skeptic really should be willing to go to figure out what is causing this particular phenomenon. So, you just can't tell people,
Yeah,
no, you didn't.
it's true.
You know, somebody saw something, we think an alien ran through the backyard. Okay, cool. I want to see the video. Let's see the alien. Let's go. We think we saw a giant bat. We think we saw, whatever it is. And it's just a lot of fun to really kind of detective work and figure out what the heck happened. And even then, as thorough as you can be, there's always going to be that tiny little percentage that you're just going to have to check off as, I don't know yet.
Yep.
Don't know how that happened yet. So, there's always room for somebody to come along and prove that one of these phenomenon is legit on the table.
Right. That's why I think that research is really important between one who's not skeptic and one who is skeptic. And having that equal on a research team or an investigation team, because you have to have balance, right? I mean, because it can get really exciting when you're on an investigation or you're doing something and you witness something or you have that experience of seeing a shadow person or hearing a knocking or a noise, and everybody has to be, and I feel, and I know how it is with us when we go out, Dom and I and Pat, that we really, we get excited, but we also have to say, is it this? Is it that? We have to look into that. You have to look into it, because like people like Allan will come along and can debunk it. And then you don't want to look foolish, right? I mean, really, if you think about it, I mean, because a lot of it, people do it for entertainment value too. They get their YouTube channels and everything else, and they do it, to get recognized and stuff. But you have to be honest, and I'm not saying they're not being honest. I'm not saying that at all. But you have to take it that step further. But people, I think, when they watch the shows, they look for that thrill. They look for that, that somebody's mowing now. I can't win, Allan. I think people, they look for that thrill. They need that thrill. Or
it's
because of what's on TV in the years of them being on TV, the shows, they're used to that, right?
Well, you never
Can you hear me over
forget
that mower?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. But you can never forget that TV is for entertainment. However anything is shot, I mean, even a nature documentary still has to sell itself and be entertaining enough.
It is. But I think
to get people to buy it. So, we're just kind of in a weird, we're just kind of in a weird spot where you want to present the evidence you've got in the best way you can, but you also want to be open to the idea that what conclusion you leapt to may not be it. And then there's the unexpected discoveries of, and I love to throw in stuff like digitized tree rings. Who knew that there's several researchers out there that have digitized tree rings in a way that they can produce it in an audible sound, so you can actually play back the life of a tree. Now, I mean, Beethoven's not exactly getting worried about this in the top 40, but it is an interesting pattern of sounds.
Yes.
Another interesting thing we discovered was that a potter's wheel, in many ways, wasn't a bad record player recorder. So as people are spinning the pots and they're putting the design on it, and they're taking a stylus and they're putting in those lines, it's also picking up the vibrations of all the sounds around it. and accidentally recording it in the clay. So here, this can now be digitized via laser these days, and you can actually play back the sound of the potter's wheel and everything going on when the stylus was making contact with the clay. Who knew? Who knew such a thing could happen? It is absolutely amazing when science comes along and goes, oh, yeah, by the way, that quartz crystal everybody loves so much.
I know he's there. I don't know if I'm.
Yep, I'm here.
There.
Is she fading out again? You back? Nope. Still fading? There you are. Up. And she's gone again.
I'm here. All right.
And you're back.
Yep. We're going to do this different. We're going to do it right from my phone.
Okay.
I have all my notifications off, so. Sorry about that, everybody. There. This would be better.
Yeah, actually, you're streamed right on in without any problems. Look at that.
Yeah, I had it waiting. I had it waiting until I knew it was going to boot me again. It booted me on the computer, so I had it ready to just pop right in. So this is like it's going to do it again on me.
Well,
so, yeah.
Welcome to modern technology, because I mean, let's face it, what we're doing right now was utter and complete fantasy in a Dick Tracy comic book 50 years ago.
Right. Oh, I know, right? I totally agree. Hang on. There we go. Okay.
There you are. So, well, I mean, as technologies grow and change, welcome to how we see and preserve and experience our world. Because, I mean, let's face it, in the last 20 years, everybody on the planet has wound up now with the camera phone.
Right. This is going to be comical, Alan.
I'm sure Renee will be rejoining us here in just a moment. Modern technology. You can't live with it, and, well, you can't live with it. So what can we say?
Oh, this is going to be fun tonight. It's going to irritate the living daylights out of me. I just feel it. It's all good. It's all good, universe. It's all good. I will prevail.
You're being the skeptic gods are messing with you tonight.
Yeah, totally, Alan. Totally. Totally. Oh my gosh. I mean, even last week I had a little bit of an issue and stuff with the show. It came out good, but I'm like, I am not going to go through this week. I'm not going to have this happen, and I usually don't. But I mean, I'm like, wow, I should have just brought my tablet out and done it on my tablet again.
Well, like I said, I mean, we're basically living in science fiction these days.
We are.
I mean, I can only imagine what someone like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle would have thought of some kind of technology like this, or Harry Houdini, or any of the great spiritualists that were really digging into and looking forward to the real potential of the human mind.
Right.
And, here we are chatting on little boxes.
Yeah.
In real time around the world, because you and I are not sitting in the same city.
No, I'm outside of Ithaca, and you're in Memphis.
There you go. And while Memphis may seem like another planet, it is, it is at least.
I like the culture
with you. Yeah.
I like the culture and the arts and stuff of Memphis. I mean, it was beautiful.
Well,
and the zoo is phenomenal. Yeah.
We like the food. Yeah. Yeah. When you visit Memphis, we promise you 5 pounds. Easy. We
Very
like,
easily. The barbecue is out of this world. You
mm,
know, it's really good. We had what did we have? Did we have what was it? Crawfish? Would we have a poor boy, right?
right. We went to the Soulfish, and you had a poor boy with remoulade sauce, crawfish tails. The poor boy
Yeah,
sandwich, crawfish tails. Hmm.
first time I ever had anything like that, and it was good. It was really good.
Oh yeah, we're very proud of our food down here. So
Yep,
we Memphis is a heavy food culture city.
very much so.
You got a lot of different influences here, and so it's if you leave Memphis hungry, it's because well you didn't try to eat. That's all I can
Right.
tell
Yeah, because I mean, it was, there's places all over. Like, I mean, barbecue places and seafood places and southern restaurants and Italian restaurants. And it was really cool. It was really diverse. This area is starting to get more diverse too, but it's more,
you. Right.
um, it's more like they're getting more Indian restaurants. They're getting more uh, like Japanese style restaurants here,
Cool.
and Korean. There's new Korean ones. They actually have an open market now. It's in a building, but it's where Green Star was, where they're selling like live turtles that you can eat. I don't know the name of them, and different types of animals, and I'm just like, I couldn't do it.
Well, food has to come from somewhere.
Yes, when it's still alive, I don't want to see it because I'm not
We
going to kill it. Lobster and crab, that's a little different. Clams, it's a little different. Oysters, not turtle, not, stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff you just can't chuck in the hot water and it expires
Yeah,
immediately. Right.
yeah, I couldn't do it. Could you do it? I mean, if I had no other choice, right, Alan? I mean, if it came to survival, of course you're going to do what you have to do to survive. But I mean, to like willingly go and do it, could you do it? Have you
Could
done
I
it?
do it or do I do it?
Well, have you done it? Let's put it that way. Have you ever done
Oh,
it?
many, many times.
Really? What have you done?
Yes. Pick pretty much the critter. Yeah.
Really?
I think the funniest story I have was the group of friends discussing of a duck as a game animal, not a domestic duck. So duck from the wild, and
Yep,
they
I
were
did
also
that.
discussing of Peking or Beijing duck, and the the processes that you went through to make like a Peking duck, and this is not a simple thaw the duck out, put it in the oven, add some spices, and life is good, because you
Right.
actually have to inflate the duck. You have to actually blow it up to get the skin to separate from everything, so you get the
Really?
crispy skin. Yeah, it's like a 24-hour process. And so I took them out to the local farm I was involved in at the time, and there was a pond, and there were a number of ducks upon said pond, and um, one mallard male who was a male duck too many got voluntold that he was going to help me with dinner. And the look on everybody's face at the moment where he was converted from a duck to food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was a stump and a machete involved. And I think at that point I was branded a serial killer and should not be trusted around anyone. And I was kind of like, well, guys, this is where food comes from.
Yeah.
You should be very happy and very grateful, but if you want to eat chicken, a chicken has to come to an end. you know While we would love to think of food as this lovely processed stuff under plastic wrap at the local grocery store, it's not.
Right? No, it's you know, my grandfather, when he was alive, he was a cattle buyer and a cattle dealer.
Right.
So he would come down here to this area, what he called the country, and he loved it down here. And he had a little barn with, the scale on it, and the farmers would bring their calves or some of their cows, and he had a big cattle truck. And we used to come down with him in the summer times if we had vacation and we were younger, because we liked to ride in the big truck and everything. And we would head back to Utica and we'd go to the slaughterhouse.
Yep.
So here are these calves or cows that we've played with all day, going, oh, how cute, how cute. And then we're bringing them to the slaughterhouse. But he would bring us to like this place called Quack's Diner that was like phenomenal.
All right.
Absolutely phenomenal. And on the way home, so that was kind of our prize. But he would have us go in the slaughterhouse as they were being chained and hung and everything else. And he's like, if you want that little piece of butterscotch candy, you've got to be strong and brave. And you're like 7, 8 years old and you want that butterscotch candy that's in the office at the other end of the slaughterhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're seeing it all happen. Or he would bring home a baby lamb, and we'd get off the bus and like, oh, how cute, how cute. And you see it there for 3 or 4 days, and then don't go behind the house. Why? Easter was coming, right? Don't go behind the house.
Yes.
Why? You go behind the house. Oh my God. Well, told you not to go behind the house. So I mean, stuff like that I was brought up with.
Yeah. Welcome to the whole agricultural mentality where this pig's named Pork Chop, that one's named Backstrap, and that one over there is Ham.
Yeah.
That's what they're for. And I've discovered that people of a certain age, aka me, people 30 years younger than me really have no concept that agricultural world still exists.
Yeah.
Because it is pretty and packaged and sanitized and put away. And I'm going to relate this back to being a skeptic and all of that, and the fact that a lot of people out investigating these things aren't real sure exactly how nature really works. And that, critters eat other critters. And yes. Some share and some play nice and some don't. And when you're walking through an abandoned building, you have to remember that to them, it's not an abandoned building. It's just another place to be.
Right. It could be their home.
I know the number of people that run into pigeons. Pigeons seem innocuous unless it's 2 or 3 in the morning and you don't know they're on that wall, and suddenly birds are flying at you and things are, it's real easy to see how people freak out about stuff. Nature has its own rules and its own abilities.
Yes, it does.
So, whether you're getting dinner or you're going to go ghost hunting, you kind of got to have a little bit of a grip on that, because you got to get around what's actually natural to get to what you're actually looking for.
Right. No, I totally agree. It's been interesting. What do you feel? I mean, we're just going to go all over the place tonight because that's how I'm feeling tonight. What do you feel about this new food that they're coming out with, like replacing meat with like a
they're replacing meat with meat. They are taking it's not even a new technology. This has been going on for quite a time, where we've been taking a tissue sample and growing it in the lab or growing it in a dish what we're doing is we're ramping that up to more of a commercial scale. So let's say, and there are actually companies now that are producing hundreds, if not thousands, of pounds of food every week this way. So let's say we take a chicken breast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the chicken was immediately expired. Well, guess what? The cells that in that chicken are still alive and viable. So if
Right.
those cells are harvested and then taken over to a basically it's more complex than this, but we're going to just say nutrient auger because everybody played with it in high school or something. You grew something on it or in it,
Okay.
and you're going to set up a matrix where now it can even go so far that we can set up a cellular matrix and print it across the growing materials with a printer, like an inkjet printer,
Right.
and spread the cells out so that now you're growing 1,000 pounds of actual chicken breast versus a chicken.
Right.
At the end of the day, the product being produced in the lab is still cellularly chicken. It's still chicken. So if you like a processed chicken product like chicken nuggets, you don't know what's in that nugget now anyway. Everybody tells you you do. No, you don't. You weren't there when that nugget was made, but chicken nuggets are very, very popular. So why couldn't chicken nuggets be made from a manufactured animal protein versus a natural made individual protein? The actual cost to produce a manufactured protein is getting less and less and less as the techniques are getting better.
Right.
So
And there is a difference in the consistency, I think.
there was, but again, technologies are growing and changing. And the holy grail of manufactured food is a steak. Chicken breast is pretty easy because that's generally low fat. It's 100% muscle tissue, maybe a
Right.
little mesentery now here and there, but basically it's a uniform muscle. Now a steak is a different problem because
Right.
it has the connective tissues, it has the muscle, but it also has a lot of fat. So you have different consistencies, different processes being produced by the body. And what they have learned is you can't create a steak in a single pass. So what you do is you create the muscle side of the steak, you harvest that up, you regrow it again with the fat, put the fat back into it, then you harvest that, you grow it again, and you put in the muscle tissue definition. And now your finished product acts, walks, talks, looks, and tastes like a natural steak.
Have you ever had one?
I have not. I have not had a chance to try it yet. Of that form of artificial food has not actually made it to Memphis yet. I promise you, I will try it. Now I've tried all the substitutes. I've tried every form of mushroom, tofu, and other things. Some of them are very successful. A lot of them are not.
Right.
Um, the trick is you're not ever going to use a non-meat to replace a meat. Now, what you can do is get a really good facsimile and make that product edible. So a lot of
Like,
the faux hamburgers, they're actually products of made from peas.
yep.
Is it
Yep.
ever exactly going to be a hamburger? No. That doesn't mean it's not good and it's not enjoyable.
Right.
So, the name of the game is to get to of In the food business, we talk about texture, mouth feel, where the flavors hit you, and all. I mean, there's oh my gosh, you get into like just tea alone, just tea, and there's probably 1,000 different kinds of teas
Oh
and
yeah.
100 different ways that they're prepared, and it all comes basically from the same bush, but it depends on where it was grown, how it was grown, when it was harvested, what did you do to the leaves after you harvested them. You know, there's a lot that happens to that product before we get a glass of tea.
Right.
So, you know, what you're looking at is an industry that's brand new. And for everybody out there right now that's kind of going, blah, think about being on another planet. Are we going to be able to take chickens to Mars?
Right.
No,
I know, unless it's some sort of a built-in ecosystem, you know, like a.
there is no ecosystem. It's dry and it's cold. There
But
might
you
be
have to create it. You have to create it, like the Jetsons, right? I think of the Jetsons. You'd have to create these bubbles or these.
right.
You'd have to create it.
But wouldn't it be a lot simpler and much more effective and much more efficient if you're bringing up growing tanks as opposed to a farm? Now, we don't like to consider this, but a farm itself is not terribly efficient. It's natural, more or less. I mean, the problem with the farm is that nature doesn't grow all the corn together in one field.
Right.
You know, nature spreads plants out. Nature spreads out the animals. Nature gets the buffalo to basically migrate from area to area so the ground has a chance to recover. A farm, while that's what all we've ever known, is not horrifyingly efficient. There's still all of the animal byproduct and all of the animal waste and all of the stuff that it goes into producing what we eat. It takes a lot of land. It takes a lot of space. It takes a lot of, takes a lot of resources.
Right.
If we, as we look at space travel, as we look at a moon base and we look at Mars, and this is not a theoretical discussion, by the way, people. There are companies, like Tesla, Elon Musk, they're not just looking at Mars. They're not making some kind of grand pronouncement. These companies are making plans.
Oh yeah.
They are gearing up to get to the moon and to Mars.
Yep.
So,
and he'll do it. Elon Musk will do it too.
If he won't, somebody else will.
Yeah.
But I'm picking him because he's probably the best known and easiest. But there are a number of other entrepreneurs and developers behind this that all want to get there.
Yeah.
Because
oh, they do.
From Mars, we get to the asteroid belt.
Bless you.
And when we get to the asteroid belt, and I'm going to throw in another little non-theoretical, you can now start working on your degree in astro mining at the University of Colorado.
Wow.
Talk about forward thinking and knowing that we live in sci-fi. Of these people are already looking at the technologies that are going to go to space with us. And the financial predictions are the first trillionaires, not billionaires, trillionaires, are going to be who gets to the resources of the asteroid belt first. Now, let me throw this in for you. If, we love our aluminum, the bauxite and all of the materials that make aluminum make up about a fifth, maybe a fourth of the earth. We've got an iron core. We've got all these wonderful things. But instead of having to go get tiny little pieces and melting it and going through all of those huge resources, picture how easy it would be to just pull up in space next to a rock made out of nothing but iron. There you go. You ain't got to dig it up. You don't have to go through all of the resources you'd go through on Earth. And on Mars, to be honest, global warming greenhouse gases are a good thing, not a bad thing, because we want to warm Mars up. So, and these are not, this is not like the 1960s when Robert Heinlein and Isaac Asimov were sitting around going, wow, look at where we could wind up. You and I are sitting here communicating on quartz crystals, basically.
Yep.
Like every practitioner of the questionable arts has been staring at a quartz crystal for thousands of years now. I find it amusing that all of the psychics and witch doctors and Naganas and all the stuff of the world for thousands of years knew it was going to be quartz. And now today, a quartz crystal is basically responsible for all of this technology we're using.
Yeah. Yep.
You got to give somebody credit somewhere. Somebody picked up a shiny crystal rock a while back and they went, hey, this is an idea of, if you don't believe me, look up the crystal set. Go to any Google, whatever. And when you look up the crystal set, it's going to come back and say something about it's a radio, because that's what we called radios originally, because they had a tiny little quartz crystal in them that gave us the base frequency to develop basically all of this technology we have today. So being a skeptic is easy because I have all the tools in the world, but it makes it fun to go explore because we've got better tools.
Right.
We're not just running around out there with a mirror going, see if it's got a reflection. We can actually look at an EMF field. We can get a trimeter. We can explore the radioactive capabilities of something. You can get a Geiger counter. The funny thing is you can get an EF meter for like $5.
Right. Yeah.
Walk around your house with one of those and see if you're not amazed.
Oh, yeah, because of all the electronics and the wiring and everything else. Yeah. Microwave and everything.
Well, as I love to point out to people, have you ever, and this is kind of a modern thing, have you ever sat down in a Faraday cage? What's a Faraday cage?
Yeah, what is that?
It is basically a giant parakeet cage made out of copper and silver, or any type of wiring, mostly copper, that would prevent any form of radiant energy from passing through it. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you have a Wi-Fi, well, then you are walking around personally swimming through Wi-Fi soup. You're sitting here talking to me on your cell phone. Well, that cell phone is radiating a form of radiation to carry the signal that's making this possible.
Right.
Welcome to the new world. We're playing with ancient ideas, modern science fiction, and we're making it happen today. And we'll tie this all up with new food productions, new technologies. All right, guys, 20 years ago, 3D printing was an idea.
Oh, yeah, now it's real. Yeah. Yeah.
Big box store. All right, we did a story not too long ago on Tool Talk Radio about the fact that a lot of houses in the future are going to be 3D printed. There are giant multi-layer production facilities, aka 3D printers, that print with concrete.
Really?
Yes. There's an entire subdivision in North Texas going in right now being 3D printed into place.
Wow. That's wild.
Now, as a side twist to that, how do you haunt that?
Right. Well, I mean, that's pretty amazing because like Dom has a couple of the 3D printers himself,
Right.
and he uses those for like his movies, for props and
Right.
and stuff like that. So he does all that. So like what looks like a real gun isn't a real gun, it's a 3D printing.
Right.
You know, and those are pretty cool. I just can't imagine like seeing one that's going to build a house. Like that's massive.
Oh no, let's really go a step further. How about you were in a car accident and we just 3D printed you a new ear?
That's creepy. That's creepy.
That is not science fiction.
That is creepy.
That is actual technology today, directly related to your fake food. So you need a new surgery. You need a surgery. You've got a part wearing out. We could 3D print it and grow it for you. You're shaking your head going, what? You've seen nothing yet. This is all still the baby steps for all of this.
It's kind of creepy. Kind of creepy if you think about it. All I know is I want a Jetsons car. I want a car that I can fly to get out of this traffic every morning that I go into work or when I'm on the road, because people have gone into zombie mode or whatever, and nobody's paying attention. And yeah, I want one where I can just and zoom.
Well,
yeah. I'll fly like a bird.
In 20 years, you'll just go get in the car and say, take me to work. It won't even have a steering wheel. You'll just be sitting in there drinking your coffee, and it will just bubble you over to wherever you're supposed to go.
Well, they've got to be better drivers than half the people on the road nowadays.
They're getting there. We're just pointing it out that, you know, rather than building a dumb road like we have now, we have the technology to build smart roads that can tell cars where to go.
Well, they're going to have to do something up north about the potholes before they think about a smart road.
You're thinking about just having a road.
You know, I don't know. In Canada, if you've ever been to Canada, like on the 401 or anything like that, you don't ever see them like having to fix the road. I don't know what they do. It's like a concrete something or another, and they have the plows and everything. Down here, oh my God, all of Ithaca is like one big pothole. Like, so you're constantly having to get your car, you know, realigned and everything else, or you're popping tires, and it's just like, oh well, deal with it, you know. Like all the roads up here are still full of potholes. Now they cannot contract, like the state contracts to do the roads in the towns. They don't start until a certain day in May.
Right.
When they start the construction up here, up north. But, you know, so you go several months where these potholes, and then they still don't get them. Or they fill them with the, you know, the loose tar and pat it down. And 2 days later, you know, the hole's even bigger. But what's happened is they've done it. They've blacktopped it when it's raining and everything else. And what causes these potholes? Well, constant wear and tear, yes, but water pockets under the tar.
Water is the enemy, yes.
Water pockets. So, you know, even though the tar is hot, you're still getting the water in there. It's going to cause a vapor. And So they're constantly spending the money. And I get it. It's keeping people working. I get it. But it's also increasing taxpayers, what they have to pay out and everything else. So do it right and do it right the first time and not have to worry about it because they're repaving the same sections time and time again every year.
That's true. That is very true.
Because I know when I was up in Canada last and drove up there and stuff, and I said, look at these roads, they don't have potholes. Like, people are like hauling butt on them. You get up on that QEW and you're hauling, man. If you're going 65, 75, you're going way too slow.
Somebody's gonna pass you. Yep.
You're on the QEW, it's like 4 lanes going one direction, and they're going like 100 miles an hour. It's
Yep.
So, but these roads, you figure the snow that they get and everything else, and here you have it.
Well, what I'm waiting for, and I'm sure it is already out there, is basically the 3D printing robotic system for repairing potholes. You'll be driving down the highway one day and that machine's going to be over there and it's going to be squared up and zeroed in on the pothole, and it's going to be extruding the replacement material and putting it in place.
Well, and this is it. This is the downfall of all of this advancement in technology and everything else. The downfall is that it's going to take away from jobs. It's going to take away from the labor market and everything else. And I get that, you want to advance, but then again, I take a look at it and people don't want to work anyways. How many people have chosen still not to go back to work since COVID?
I'm going to disagree. The one thing about technology, jobs change, but you still need people to make things happen. Machines don't work themselves.
Okay.
So I'm going to stick with technology changes. You still got to have people to do it. And as you pointed out, we're already short people as it is.
We are short people.
Robotic waiters in restaurants because we can't find enough wait staff.
People don't want to work. I'm sorry, but
people want to work just fine because everybody I know has got 6 jobs.
Well, that's the problem because of inflation and everything else. But there's a lot of people who won't step out of the house and get a job right now. And
yeah, I'm going to disagree with you there too, because there's an income coming from someplace.
Yes.
I think we've just hit a point that was actually forecasted 25 years ago.
Which is what?
When you start an aging population, you're eventually going to start running short. And this was predicted 25 years ago by any number of economists in a wide variety of the developed world. And funny thing, I'm sitting there looking at this going, well, it's kind of taking place just like it was predicted.
I think there's a lot of people I know down up here in New York. There's people looking for jobs, but there's a lot of people saying that they refuse to go and work at those places, or they don't make enough money, or there's those of us who are working 2 and 3 jobs, or like you said, 5 or 6 to make ends meet and stuff, but everything keeps going up, and how are these people sitting at home?
I don't think they are.
There's a lot of it up here.
People, I think we made several very very dramatically bad decisions a few years back. And we made some ugly comments like, if you don't like it, go somewhere else. And I think we had a pandemic that came along and proved that everybody could go find something else.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have a full-time job, you had 3 side gigs and a part-time job, and you put your life back together. And I think we're I think we're at a point where we're going to have to rethink how to move forward because we are getting so many technology changes.
Right.
We're
Now,
getting
okay.
so many more um, demands and opportunities, but the definition of the word luck is being prepared to meet an opportunity.
Right. So here's what, say like the New York State Thruway, right? They had all the toll booths and everything else, and all the people that worked them and everything else. Well, then they put in the the pass, right? That you
Mm-hmm.
can use in different states. Like I think you can use the one in New York and Florida and all that, right? So they have the passes that you stick on your their sonar, radar, whatever. It they take a picture, they connect to whatever the cameras are up above, and it connects and it takes the money automatically out of your account, right? So it's like a smart pass, right, for driving
Sure.
on a freeway. But so they closed down all of those booths, and there's all those people that are out of job. Now, the other thing though that I see, and I predicted this even before COVID, is that people are going to start working from home more because of the cost of utility to keep these facilities open and running. These offices, say like if you have an office building and you're renting the building and then you have the utilities and everything else, you're gonna see more people working from home to cut back on those expenses because it's a lot of money to keep some of those facilities open and going, right?
Yes, it
So
is.
you're going to see people working more from home, and you're seeing a lot of that,
Well, I
obviously.
already know a lot of people that are working from home these days. So,
Yeah. So, I mean,
congratulations,
even
Renee.
the utility
Technology
companies
is
are doing
changing.
it.
Yeah.
The util-
Technologies are changing. The world is changing. It's going to be, I think somebody said, give the world 10 more years, you're not going to recognize it.
right.
You get a whole different ball game. So,
Yeah. Well, your insurance companies, a lot of people are working from home for them too, and like utility companies like ours here in ISEG, they're hiring people, to customer service reps, to work from home.
yep.
But you work a lot of hours and you have to work if the power goes out and everything else. But you're dealing with these people that call in and say there's something wrong with my bill, or stuff like that, and they're like starting out pay is $25 an hour, and you go through like 40 hours of training at their facility.
Sorry.
Bless you. But even stuff like that, they're even cutting back and saying work from home, or we're going to have
Oh,
you work from home. You have to live an hour from our facility and you're going to work from home, and you're going to work these many hours and these many days, and if there's an emergency you're going to be right there on the computer, taking phone calls from people that the power is out, and you're going to be and all that different stuff. So I mean, like I said, that's everybody's cutting back when it comes to being in an actual facility.
well, and we'll see what happens next year because every year it shifts. So, the cool thing is, I love talking to you. Been on with you for an hour, and unfortunately, I have another show to go to.
No, Alan,
Ooh,
it's okay. It's
it's
all
all
good.
right. It's all right.
It's all right. Yeah, no, that's fine. So quickly, tell people, how can they get your books? Can they contact you? How can you
The
know?
easiest thing in the world to do is just go to darkoakmedia.com or darkoakpress.com, and all of our information is up there, and they can look at, we'll say, all of the media shenanigans we're up to. They can pop over to YouTube and look up Dark Oak Media and follow any of the shows we're doing there. And they can even follow our radio podcast and everything over on Spotify.
And they can listen live too, right, on Saturday mornings to it, to
Oh,
Tool
yeah.
Talk Radio, right? And that's on iHeartRadio Live or Spotify, or they can even pull up the Memphis station. I mean, anybody can do it on a cell phone now or a computer.
Yep.
And what time's that on in the morning?
Tool Talk Radio is live from 8 till 10 Central Time. But they can just go to tooltalkradio.com or to darkhookmedia.com, and you can catch all the podcast. You can binge, honestly, literally years of broadcast.
Nice.
Yep, we're everywhere. We're portable. So.
Well, thank you for coming on tonight. And, I'm glad, and we're going to touch base again. And because there's like so much to talk about. I mean, and what I've done different, if you haven't noticed with the show, is I'm bringing in people, and it's not all paranormal. It's not all spiritual. I'm just bringing in reality. I'm bringing in reality and different people, some people inspirational. Last week I had it on about, genetically modified organisms, GMOs, and food. So it's all different information and people from all different walks of life now.
Here's your terrible little secret. Every piece of food you eat is GMO.
It is. It is.
Yeah, because, crossbreeding and controlled growth is genetically modifying a product.
Right. And I think, what a lot of people learned last week is that even though, your stuff is genetically modified, people have the misconception that GMO is all Roundup and everything else. And it's not. It's genetically modified first, and then whatever is done after is done after. Because my girlfriend's a scientist. She's, specializes in all that and has a PhD. And, she was describing that. So a lot of people learned last week about that, when people say GMO, they automatically think Roundup and Monsanto. But that's not what it is. Genetically modified, the plants and stuff is actually, like she said, making them so that they grow quicker, or like, with the meat you were talking about, or withstanding drought situations or wet situations, and, getting the plant to prosper and everything else. And I never knew that tomato plants were poisonous originally.
You ever see a wild pig? That's what all the pigs used to look like.
Yeah.
We bred them to not be that.
Right. Right, exactly. So, so when we see GMO, people think automatically, like I said, Monsanto and all this Roundup and everything else, but not that at all. That's after. That's after, people.
Well, and one of these days they're going to clone a mammoth or a dodo bird or the things we could get into. So book me again soon, and we'll talk about cloning and genetics.
We can do that.
I want to round off on bringing critters back.
We could do critters. It could be a good thing, and it could be really dangerous.
I think Michael Crichton has covered the topic, so we can dive into that.
We could do that. We could do that. Allan, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, watching, listening in. It's always a pleasure to have you on, and we'll be in touch soon, and we'll get you back on again soon, and we'll delve into many things, because you're a wealth of information, Allan, and you know that. So,
well, people keep telling me I'm full of something. I'm not sure if it was.
Well, that too. Yeah. I'll just call it baloney, but Yeah. I'll make it PG. I love you. Thank you for being here, and we'll catch you real soon.
All right. Have a good one. Y'all have a lovely evening.
Good night, everybody.